And we'll go to section 1.2, approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a first by Dr. White and a second by Ms. Gardner. Let's call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Looks like it's carried 5-0. Section 2, 2.1, election of school board chairman. At this time, I'll call for a nomination for school board chair.
Mr. Superintendent, I'll nominate Dr. Lamar White for school board chairman.
I'll second.
That's a first by Mr. Bryant and a second by Dr. Kelly. Any discussion?
I do. I have something to say. I would just like to let Dr. Kelly know how much I appreciate her leadership over this year, and she has done a phenomenal job considering her full schedule, but she has led us in, she's done a phenomenal job. So.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
It's been my honor.
I agree with that.
Yep.
And I too, during this time, would like to say, you think about the last year, so much has been accomplished under the leadership of Dr. Kelly. Just appreciate everything that she's done, not only for this board, but for this school district in this role. So just an absolutely fantastic job.
Well, as Mr. Bryant said, and all the other important responsibilities with the Hope Squad and everything else, just excellent job.
Thank you.
Well, and having Dr. Kelly as the chairman made my job as vice chairman so much easier. So thank you,
Well,
Dr.
thank
Kelly.
you.
And with that, we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Looks like it carried 5-0. And with that, I will pass the gavel on over.
Well, I guess I say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, and I'll try to work my way through this, but I don't have some notes like the superintendent does, but Ms. Mary, we'll work on that in the future, all right? All right, so that brings us to the second item, the election of the school board vice chairman. So at this point, I'll take a motion.
Ms. Evancheck, are you interested or be willing?
I'd be honored.
I nominate
I'll second
my
that.
partner to the left.
A motion by Ms. Gardner and a second by Ms. Bryant for Ms. Evancheck to serve as the vice chairman. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Ms. Evancheck.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, so we move on to item 2.3, establish the 2024 school board meeting schedule. And so I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bryant,
Second.
second by Ms. Gardner. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. 2.4, revised school board meeting protocols and guidelines presented by our attorney, Mr. McInnes. I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bryant.
I'll
Second. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
ahead,
Dr.
That
Ms.
was a
Kelly.
close one.
Dr.
Second
Kelly.
by
Ms. Gardner.
Dr. Kelly. Any discussion?
Can we have
Yes, sir.
Mr. McInnes kind of explain what the revision is?
Yes, sir. And during the organizational session each year is the time when you look at your meeting protocols and guidelines. Last year, you adopted some revisions to the board policy. One of those provided that speakers should fill out their cards upon their arrival at the meeting. And the changes to the guidelines simply confirm that those cards need to be filled out and turned in to the secretary prior to the section on the agenda, either blue card or yellow card that someone wants to speak, so that the chairman has those available. And also clarifies that in regard to the yellow card section, there's a total of 2 minutes available for however many topics someone wants to speak about, but it's one yellow card for 2 minutes for those topics. The blue cards address agenda items, and certainly you can discuss any and all agenda items that are there. So that's,
What is considered an agenda item?
agenda items are items actually that are published on the agenda for action by the board.
Okay.
Not the categories, but the actual items that are shown there for board consideration.
And that would be items on that particular agenda, not on previous agendas.
That's correct. The public has a right to address things prior to you voting on them. So the only way it could be a previous agenda if it was not yet voted on.
Okay, and then previous agenda items would be a yellow card if they wanted to speak on any topic.
If they've already been action taken by the board, that's correct, yes.
Thank you, sir.
What if a speaker wants to speak on more than one agenda item? is that they just have to do it one at a time and do 2 cards? Or how does that work?
That's what you would do. They can have more than one blue card because they can speak to each agenda item. That's how they would do that.
But they
But
cannot.
those need to be turned in, like we're saying, filled out and turned in before we get to the public comment section of the agenda.
Okay, but they would not be able to, for example, let's say I spoke on an agenda item, and then Ms. Gardner came up and spoke about something, then I thought, oh, I'd like to speak again on that. That would not be acceptable, would it?
Well, no, once you've turned your card in, you get your time on that card.
Okay,
And you-
so,
and-
yeah.
And you would need to turn all your cards in when that portion of the agenda starts.
In other words, we're not going to accept any cards after we start that section, as far as
That's what
the
this
blue.
clarification would do. You'd clarify
Okay.
that.
And I think that also, that, what, I think with Ms. Evancheck, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that, the going up and getting another blue card for a rebuttal is not proper.
Right, if you've already had your time on that topic,
Right.
then we would not do that.
Okay.
Any
See-
rebuttal would be a yellow card.
That's correct.
Okay.
I think maybe have Mary put some kind of a little notice or something for anyone who maybe is new to the whole procedure about all cards need to be turned in prior to.
Well, and part of what the change to your guideline does, just to be sure everybody understands at each meeting, it does call for the chairperson to ask before you start those 2 categories if all cards have been turned
Okay,
in. So that if someone
perfect.
had missed it, they would know to go get it and turn it in before we start that section.
Okay. Just so long as everyone's aware of the
Yes,
rule-
ma'am.
guidelines and that those cards need to
This
be
is
turned
just a
in prior.
clarification of what your policy is.
Sure.
And I'd like to just add for the public that this school board has had numerous ways to allow the public to have input. In fact, this school board has more opportunities than most school boards that I'm aware of. As we all know, in each meeting, there are 2 opportunities, the blue card and then the yellow card. And in fact, this school board meets more frequently than is required by the law, which we meet twice a month, and the law only requires once a month. And again, we allow members of the public to have input at those times. Beyond that, because school board meetings are business meetings in which we conduct the business of the school district, we also provide email addresses that folks correspond with us. And I know my colleagues have also even listed their personal cell
Cell phone
phones
numbers.
that folks can call and give their input that way. So I just wanted to point out that the school board has always garnered public input and requested public input and provides numerous opportunities for public input, at the same time recognizing that this is a business meeting. And there are some matters that are really outside the domain of this school board and are more appropriately handled with communications directly with the school district, particularly the superintendent. All right. Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
one clarification then, you're saying school board meetings, which technically is our evening meeting.
Mm-hmm.
What about if someone came to a workshop?
Well, we in the past, if someone wanted to speak at a workshop, we would
Same
allow that
rules,
because that
same
is
thing.
still a public meeting and the same rules would apply.
Okay, just want to clarify that, thank you.
Doesn't happen very often, but
Right,
it
yeah.
has happened.
Just wanna
in
make
the
sure.
past.
And just one other point of clarification, the yellow card, if an individual had 1 item that's 2 minutes, if there was 3 items or 4 items, it's still 2 minutes in total?
Yes, sir.
And you will still, Mr. McGinnis, at the beginning of that section, along with the chairperson saying, this is time to have your cards in, you'll go over the general rules like you always do.
Yes,
as-
ma'am.
Yeah, about protocol.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and just to point out, and of course, the previous chairman knows this as well, those cards all have the rules printed on the back of them. And Mr. McInnes, there may be a necessity to revise those. I don't know if you've looked at them in light of this particular change.
If you adopt this, they'll be revised.
All right, all right then. Okay, so I guess it's time to call the motion.
Where we've got the motion in a second.
We've got that, right?
Yeah, just need to
Right,
vote.
okay, so in this case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. All right then, so 2.5, designation of school board member to serve as the board's trustee to the Florida School Board's Insurance Trust, FSBIT.
Dr. White, I would be honored to serve in that, continue to serve in that capacity in regards to continuity to the matters that are discussed within FSBIT. So I would be honored to continue that.
Mr. Bryan, I tell you what, I'm so grateful for the work you've done there in that position, and if I weren't the chairman, I would make the motion, so.
Well, I'll make the
colleagues.
motion. I move that Mr. Bryant continue in the FSBIT position. He's done an excellent job, and I know he'll continue to do so.
Thank you, Ms. Vanchek. Motion by Ms. Vanchek,
I'll be happy to second it.
second by Ms. Gardner. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, 2.6, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative on the Northwest Florida Manufacturers Council.
And I have been doing this, and I'm in contact with Paul Miller, who is the president of this, and he was going to reach out to Mr. Williams and Ms. Branscombe. That might be something more. So I'll be happy to continue this and maybe bring something back to the board later on this.
Understand. All right, so need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bryant,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Vanchek for Ms. Gardner to continue to serve until such time as there might be a change. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. 2.7, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative to the Okaloosa Public Schools Foundation.
Well, I've enjoyed doing this, and I would keep it, but if there's someone else I don't want to monopolize it where no one has that opportunity, but I would be glad to keep it.
I would agree with Ms. Vanchek. She's done a great job serving in this for the foundation, and to see what the foundation has transpired over the last 3 years to where it is now. I think I would like to nominate her to continue to serve in that capacity.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Bryant, second by Dr. Kelly for Ms. Vanchek to continue. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. 2.8, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative to the construction program.
Dr. White, I would like to say that I have been honored to serve on the construction committee. Thank you to all of those who have been on that committee. I've learned a lot over the year, but at this time I would like to nominate Dr. Diane Kelly to serve in that capacity for the next year. So that's my motion.
Motion by Mr. Bryant for Dr. Kelly
I'll
to,
second it.
second by Ms. Vanchek. Any discussion?
I do have one
Yeah.
clarification. So we do have a meeting today, so if it's okay with you,
Could you
can I
continue,
serve
please?
that last meeting?
I would love for you to do
Yes.
that, Mr. Bryant.
But, just so you know, in December, there's another one. I'll let you take over. so.
You can do it as long as you'd like, Mr. Bryant.
You know, what's interesting about that committee is I remember when that was like, who even knew, you know what I mean? It was like, no, now it's such a big deal with that committee, so much going on that,
Well, and
The
you're right,
sunshine.
and the reason why I asked Dr. Kelly if we vote her in to go ahead and do this meeting, the meetings last a few hours. They're not just 30 minutes and we're done, like you said, because we only had 1 or 2 items. They're about 3 hours long, so.
yeah,
Pretty
Yeah.
involved.
it's
Yes.
a major commitment.
Yes.
Well, with that clarification. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, 2.9, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative to the Principal of the Year and Assistant Principal of the Year Selection Committee. Now, I have served in that capacity, and I'm willing to continue unless there might be someone else that would like to assume that.
I would be willing to do it,
I-
but
I would-
if somebody
I mean-
else would be willing to do it, I mean, that's a cool.
I don't want to take something
committee.
from you that
No.
you,
Well,
and being,
well, with this new
Chairman,
job,
that's what I was
would be
wondering.
willing to surrender. So I need a motion then for someone else.
doesn't.
So what am I hearing, that you're interested?
I was just
I
going to
will
help
do it.
Mr.
And
Dr.
you're-
White, since he is
But it's
going to be
totally-
chairman, so I doesn't, either
Can I-
way.
Can I ask Marty, do you want to do it?
I will be happy to do
Okay,
it. I don't know
I
where,
nominate Marty Harrison to be on this committee.
Motion by Mr. Bryant,
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Evancheck. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries for Ms. Gardner to take that position.
We have so many new principals and assistant principals now. It'll be nice to get to know them different than.
You know what the problem is
Well, you
with this
will.
board?
You'll-
Is we're so nice to each other, we can't even nominate people to take on anything. It'd be better if we just didn't like each other.
No, I've been there.
Well,
It'd be easier to
We
say,
may
"You
need to
take
go
it,
back
you take
and-
it."
Dr. White, if I can comment.
What you asked for, that's
Seriously
not
though,
good.
You don't mean
so,
that.
so seriously.
You don't mean that.
Yeah, I don't mean that, really.
And I know you don't, but if I can comment real quick regarding this process, you know, in my state capacity, I hear what other school boards go through. So, you know, for us to sit up here and talk and make these decisions and there be no conflict or anything like that says a lot for our school board. But trust me, there's other boards out here in the
I've
state of
watched 'em.
Florida that don't have that, so.
They probably nominate each other just to get them back or something, but we just want to make sure everybody
I
feels
will, I will just
comfortable.
say that,
They're pretty
that,
bad.
yeah, if you get a chance to watch some across the state, we are blessed.
Yes,
So,
I know.
You're
yes.
just waiting for the wrestling match to start because you see chairs go back and, ooh,
Wow.
I've watched a few. They are not nice.
All right.
Okay, so that brings us to section 3.1, authorization to continue using the existing MICR signatures presented by Ms. Perry. Need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bryant,
Second.
second by Ms. Gardner. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Any further business? Mr. Attorney, we're good?
Yes, sir.
Meeting is adjourned.